Most zombie stories show the dead coming back to life. Slow bodies, empty eyes, and minds that are already gone. But 28 days later shows something far more disturbing. Its monsters are not dead. They are alive. Their hearts are still beating. Their lungs are still breathing. Their muscles still work. Their eyes still see. Their bodies are completely human, but something inside their minds has changed. When they attack, they do not move like zombies. They move like predators, fast, violent, focused like a lion chasing prey, like pure instinct taking control. They are not wandering without purpose. They are hunting. And that raises a terrifying question. What if these people are not simply infected? What if their brains have been hijacked? What if something inside them has taken control? Not for survival, but for pure rage. A rage so strong that it burns away thought. A rage so powerful that it removes fear, empathy, and reason. A rage that turns a human being into a living weapon, a biological puppet. The body is still alive, but the mind may no longer belong to the person inside it. That is what makes this idea so frightening. This is not about the dead returning. It is about the living being used. And science gives this fear an even darker edge. Nature already has parasites and viruses that can change behavior. Some can control fear. Some can increase aggression. Some can force living creatures to act against their own survival. So what if one day something learns how to control us? What if a parasite could keep you alive just to control you? Could a human brain really be hijacked like this? Comment below and tell me what you think. What makes the infected different? Most zombie stories follow a familiar idea. The infected are usually shown as dead bodies walking again. Their hearts have stopped. Their brains are mostly gone. Their movements are slow, and they often act without a clear purpose. They are frightening because they are no longer human. But in 28 days later, the infected are something very different. They are alive. Their hearts are still beating. Their brains are still active. Their muscles still work. Blood is still moving through their bodies. They can run, jump, and attack with terrifying speed. Nothing about them feels weak or broken. In many ways, their bodies are working exactly as they should. That is what makes them so disturbing. They are not dead bodies trying to move. They are living humans whose minds have been deeply damaged. The infection does not destroy the body. It changes behavior. It takes normal human movement and turns it into something violent. Their speed becomes a weapon. Their strength becomes a weapon. Even their senses seem sharper, helping them hunt and attack with purpose. They do not wander without direction. They chase, they react, they focus. It feels less like watching monsters and more like watching human predators. That changes everything. The body is still alive, but the mind is no longer working in a normal way. Thought is replaced by rage. Emotion is replaced by aggression. Reason disappears. What remains is a person trapped inside a body that no longer obeys them. That may be the most terrifying part. The infected may still be alive inside. Some parts of them may still be there, but they are no longer in control. Their own bodies have become weapons turned against the world around them. And if that can happen, then the real danger is not death. It is losing control of yourself. If you're enjoying this deep dive, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support means a lot and helps us keep making more videos like this. The amygdala override, the rage switch. To understand how the infected in 28 days later becomes so violent, we need to look at one small but powerful part of the human brain. It is called the amygdala. This part of the brain helps control fear and danger responses. It acts like an alarm system inside your head. When your brain senses danger, the amygdala reacts quickly. It tells your body to prepare for action. Your heart beats faster. Your muscles tighten. Your breathing changes. Your body gets ready to fight or run away. This is called the fight or flight response, and it helps humans survive. Without the amygdala, people would struggle to react to danger. It protects us. It helps us move fast when something threatens our safety. But this system is designed to turn on only when needed. After the danger passes, the brain calms down and the body returns to normal. But what happens if that system never turns off? What happens if the fear alarm stays active all the time? The result could be terrifying. A person may feel constant fear, constant tension, constant aggression. Their body may stay trapped in attack mode. Every movement around them may feel like a threat. Every sound may feel dangerous. Instead of thinking clearly, they may react with instant violence. This is where infection could change everything. Scientists use the term neuroinflammation to describe swelling or irritation inside the brain. This can happen when viruses or infections affect brain tissue. When the brain becomes inflamed, normal signals can become disrupted. Emotions can change. Behavior can change. Decision-making can weaken. If an infection overstimulates the amygdala, it could force the brain into permanent emergency mode. Fear could become rage. Survival instinct could become non-stop attack behavior, and nature may already have an early version of this. Rabies is a real example. Rabies attacks the nervous system and affects the brain. One of its most disturbing effects is increased aggression. It can make infected animals more likely to bite. It can increase confusion, fear, and violent reactions. In a simple way, rabies already shows how an infection can push the brain toward harmful behavior. That is what makes the infected in 28 days later feel so possible. The idea is not completely fictional. Nature already has the blueprint. The terrifying thought is this: what if a parasite or virus could force the human brain into permanent rage? What if anger could be turned on and never turned off? Do you think rage can be turned on like a switch? If you have thoughts or suggestions for our next video, comment below. Cortex Blackout. Removing the human mind. Understand what makes the infected in 28 days later so terrifying. We need to look at another important part of the brain. It is called the prefrontal cortex. This part sits near the front of the brain, and it helps control some of the most human parts of who we are. It helps us think clearly. It helps us make decisions. It helps us control emotions. It helps us feel empathy, which means caring about how others feel. This part of the brain is what allows people to stop, think, and choose their actions. It helps us recognize loved ones. It helps us speak. It helps us remember who we are. In many ways, this is what makes us human. But something strange happens to the infected. They stop speaking. They stop recognizing family and friends. They no longer show empathy or sadness. They do not hesitate. They do not think. They only attack. That raises a frightening question. What happened to that part of the brain? One possible answer is a chemical shutdown. If a parasite or infection could interfere with the prefrontal cortex, it could block higher thinking. It could silence the part of the mind that controls reason and emotion. The body would still move. The muscles would still work. The eyes would still see. But the human self could begin to fade. This may happen because of disrupted brain chemicals. The brain depends on tiny chemical signals to function properly. These signals control mood, memory, speech, and behavior. If an infection changes these chemicals, the brain can stop working normally. Thoughts may become confused, emotions may disappear, decision-making may shut down completely. It would be like turning off the human part of the mind. Only the deeper survival systems would remain. Only rage, only movement, only attack. The infected in 28 days later seem to show exactly that. Their bodies are active, but their personalities are gone. There is no calm voice inside, no clear thought, no connection to the people they once loved. The body is still alive, but the person seems gone. And that may be even more terrifying than death itself, because death ends the story. But this kind of infection may leave the body standing, while the human inside slowly disappears. Berserker metabolism, running on biological fire. In normal human life, the body has limits. People cannot run at full speed forever. After a short sprint, the body starts to slow down, muscles burn out, breathing becomes heavy. The heart needs time to recover. This is because the human body is built for balance, not endless motion. To understand this, we need two simple ideas. Adrenaline is a chemical in the body that prepares you for danger. It makes your heart beat faster. It makes your muscles stronger for a short time. It helps you react quickly when you are scared or in danger. Glucose is another important part. It is a type of sugar that gives the body energy. Muscles use it like fuel. Without it, the body cannot move or function properly. Now imagine what happens if something forces the body to release adrenaline all the time, and at the same time, it burns glucose at a non-stop rate. That is where the idea of a parasite controlling the body becomes terrifying. In 28 days later, the infected do not move like tired humans. They move like something in emergency mode all the time. One way to understand this is to imagine the body like an engine. A normal engine runs smoothly within safe limits. But if you push it too hard for too long, it starts to break down. This is what a berserker metabolism would look like. The body enters a permanent emergency state. Strength increases for short bursts. Speed becomes extreme. Pain is ignored because pain signals are suppressed by stress chemicals. The infected can keep moving even when their bodies are damaged. But this power has a cost. The body begins to destroy itself from the inside. Energy is burned too quickly. Muscles start to break down. Fat reserves disappear. The heart is forced to work at dangerous levels. Over time, organs begin to fail because they are overworked and underfed. The body is running, but it is also collapsing at the same time. This means the infected are not built for survival. They are built for short destruction, a burst of extreme power followed by total breakdown. That is what makes them so dangerous. They are fast, strong, and relentless, but they are also burning themselves alive with every movement. It is not endless strength. It is borrowed strength, and it always comes with a price. Would you fear something that never gets tired? Tell me in the comments below. Parasites already control animals. To understand the idea of mind control in 28 days later, we do not need to look at science fiction first. We can start with real life. In nature, there are many examples of parasitism, where one living organism takes control of another for survival. One of the most well-known examples is Toxoplasma gondii, a parasite that affects mice. This parasite has a very strange effect on behavior. Normally, mice are extremely afraid of cats. They avoid cat smell and run away immediately, because cats are their natural predators. But when a mouse is infected with this parasite, something changes. The mouse stops showing normal fear of cats. In some cases, it even becomes attracted to cat scent. This is dangerous for the mouse, but helpful for the parasite. The reason is simple. The parasite needs to move from the mouse into the cat's body to continue its life cycle. So it changes the mouse's behavior in a way that increases the chance of being eaten by a cat. In other words, the mouse is still alive, but its behavior is no longer fully its own. Nature also shows similar control in other ways. There are fungi that infect like ants and flies. These fungi grow inside the insect's body and slowly take over its movement. Infected ants can be forced to leave their colonies and climb to high places before they die, allowing the fungus to spread more effectively. The insect becomes a kind of living tool for the fungus. These examples show something very important. Nature already has systems that can change behavior from the inside. The brain and nervous system can be influenced by tiny organisms. Actions can be changed without the host fully understanding what is happening. The body continues to live, but behavior begins to serve something else. This leads to a very simple but disturbing question. If parasites can control mice and insects, could something similar ever affect humans? Right now, we are safe from anything that extreme. But the basic building blocks already exist in nature. Behavior can be influenced. Fear can be reduced. Aggression can be increased. Survival instincts can be altered. That means biological mind control is not just imagination. It already exists in small forms. And that makes the idea in 28 days later feel even more real. Because it suggests one thing clearly. If nature can control small animals, then the concept of a biological puppet is not impossible. It may only be a matter of complexity and time. Human behavior can already be altered. To understand the idea behind the infected in 28 days later, we need to look at something very simple but powerful. Human behavior is deeply connected to brain chemicals. These chemicals help control how we feel, how we think, and how we react to the world around us. Feelings like fear, anger, trust, and even memory are all influenced by chemical signals inside the brain. When these signals change, behavior can change too. A person who is calm in one moment can become aggressive if their brain chemistry is disturbed. A person who feels safe can suddenly feel extreme fear if certain signals are activated. This shows that behavior is not fixed. It is flexible. It can shift depending on what is happening inside the brain. We already see this in real life. Some drugs can change personality for a short time. They can make people feel happier, more relaxed, or sometimes more aggressive. These changes happen because the chemicals in the brain are being altered. Brain injuries can also change a person's identity. In some cases, people behave differently after an accident. Their emotions, decision-making, or even memory can be affected. Friends and family sometimes say the person feels not the same anymore. Even infections can affect thinking. When the brain is affected by illness, it can cause confusion, mood changes, and altered behavior. This is because the brain is very sensitive to internal changes. All of these examples show one simple truth. Human behavior is easier to change than most people realize. Small changes in brain chemistry can lead to big changes in personality and action. That means the boundary between who you are and what your brain is doing is very thin. This is where the idea becomes powerful. If something can control brain signals, even slightly, it can influence thoughts, emotions, and decisions. And if those things are controlled, then behavior follows automatically. In other words, control of the brain becomes control of the person. That is why the idea of biological influence in 28 days later feels so unsettling. It is not just about monsters. It is about how fragile human behavior really is when brain chemistry is changed. Could a rage parasite really exist? After everything we have seen, one big question remains. Could a rage parasite like the one hinted at in 28 days later actually exist in real life? The simple answer is no. Not exactly in the way the movie shows it, but that is not the full story, because many of the pieces already exist in nature. We have already seen rabies, a real virus that affects the brain and nervous system. Rabies can increase aggression, confusion, and biting behavior in infected animals. It changes how the brain reacts to fear and survival. It does not turn people into movie-style monsters, but it does show that infection can alter behavior in extreme ways. We also know that parasites can influence behavior in animals, like the ones that affect mice or insects. Some organisms can change their movement, fear response, and survival patterns just to help themselves spread. On top of that, there are conditions in humans linked to brain inflammation. When the brain becomes inflamed, it can affect mood, thinking, and emotional control. In some cases, people can become more aggressive or confused depending on what part of the brain is affected. There are also aggression-related disorders where brain chemistry plays a major role. Changes in neural signals can lead to impulsive behavior, anger, or loss of emotional control. When we look at all of this together, a pattern begins to form. No single example creates a rage parasite, but pieces of it already exist separately in nature and biology. This is where evolution becomes important. Over long periods of time, biological traits can combine. Viruses mutate, parasites adapt, brain chemistry can be influenced in different ways. A small change in one system can lead to a very different outcome in behavior. That means science does not completely rule out extreme biological influence. Not in the exact movie form, but in smaller steps that could theoretically become more complex over time. The important idea is this. Nature already has the building blocks. It already has systems that can change behavior, affect emotion, and alter survival instincts. So the question is not just about movies. It is about possibility. Could these separate biological effects ever combine into something far more extreme in the future? The blueprint may already exist in nature, even if we do not fully see it yet. Do you think science is one step away from something like this? Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Why this idea feels so terrifying. Most people are afraid of death. It is one of the most common human fears. The idea of life ending is scary because it is unknown. No one can fully explain what comes after it. But there is something even more disturbing than death. It is the fear of losing your own mind while still being alive. In 28 days later, the infected are frightening not just because they are violent, but because they are still living humans. Their bodies are active, their hearts are beating, their eyes are open, but something inside them is gone. Imagine being aware even for a moment while your body is no longer under your control. Imagine watching yourself move without permission, acting without choice, seeing your hands hurt someone while your mind cannot stop it. That idea creates a deeper fear than death itself. It is the loss of identity. It is the loss of free will. It is the feeling that you are no longer in charge of your own body. This is what makes the infected so disturbing. They are not just dangerous creatures. They represent the idea of a human being reduced to a tool, a body that still functions but no longer belongs to the person inside it. When a person loses control of their mind, everything that defines them starts to disappear. Memories, emotions, thoughts, and decisions all stop feeling like their own. What remains is only movement, only action, only survival behavior that no longer feels human. That is why this idea hits so deeply, because it removes the most important thing a person has, control over themselves. And when that is gone, even if the body is alive, something essential is missing. That is why becoming a biological puppet is often seen as worse than dying. Death ends awareness. But losing control while still alive traps awareness inside something it cannot guide anymore. If this idea made you think, like this video and subscribe for more deep content. And comment below what part of this idea scared you the most. The bigger warning. The idea behind 28 days later may be fiction, but it connects to something very real in science. The reason it feels so disturbing is not that it is fantasy, but because it is built on patterns that already exist in nature. In the natural world, evolution never stops. Life is always changing, adapting, and testing new ways to survive. Over millions of years, organisms develop new abilities. Some become stronger, some become smarter, some find new ways to influence other living things. Nature is always experimenting. Humans are not separate from biology. We are part of it. Our brains, emotions, instincts, and behavior all come from the same biological systems that exist in other life forms. That means anything that affects biology in one species can, in theory, evolve in different forms in another. This leads to a deeper question. What if the next parasite does not just affect simple behavior, but learns more over time? What if small changes in brain chemistry slowly become more complex through evolution? This is where the fear comes from. Not from what exists today, but from what could slowly develop over time if conditions allow it. The truth is simple. Horror stories often begin with something real. They grow from small scientific ideas, real biological behavior, and natural processes. Then imagination pushes those ideas further into extreme possibilities. That is why this concept feels so uncomfortable. It is not fully impossible. It is just far enough from reality to feel like fiction, but close enough to feel like it could one day connect. So we return to the main question. Could a parasite control a human? Based on current science, the answer is not in the exact way movies show it, but parts of it already exist in nature. Behavior control, brain influence, chemical changes, and nervous system manipulation are all real biological processes. When you combine these ideas, the Rage blueprint starts to feel less like pure imagination and more like separated pieces of real biology that could, in theory, overlap in extreme conditions. One path leads to a virus that kills the body. Another leads to something far more disturbing. A parasite that keeps the body alive just to use it. The most terrifying monster may not kill the human body, it may simply take control of it. Which is more terrifying, death or becoming a biological puppet? Comment below and tell me your thoughts.